right, Dad. What was your life like as a child?
Like I was telling you before, it was rough as a kid. Everybody had their own gangs, you know. So my best friend at that time was Johnny Barber. She lived down the street from me. He was a Christian boy. And we used to swim in the Kaw River, Missouri River for excitement and everything else. Nobody had any money during the Depression time. And also, I had a good friend by the name of Bernard Novosel. But we was on the Kaw River one time, and he drowned in the Kaw River. I didn't even know it. I was away on top of the tracks away from him. I didn't even know he fell in till that night they came looking for him, and they never did recover his body. So he was a very good friend of mine. Bernard Novosel, tougher than hell. So all of us kids, we made our money. Used to go down to railroad cars, sweep out the wheat cars, and then sell the people raised chickens. We'd sell the wheat to the people, you know. That's how we raised our money. So we played ball, softball, and everything else. Had our own teams and everything else. And around our neighborhood was full of beer taverns and bootleggers. Seemed like everybody was a bootlegger. And but they were very good guys. They used to give us money, sign our shoes. They'd give us $1 to sign their shoes and everything, and all of that, you know. And so we were very well informed in school. Schooling was good. You went to school, you learned something. You came out, if you worked a problem, you had to go up to the blackboard and work it. You read, you had to stand up and read a paragraph, you get what I mean? And so we was worldly wise, very wise about world events, like the Ethiopian War when Italy invaded. We knew all about that. We had a newspaper and we discussed world events. And so I graduated from school in 1939. And we had a talk by a guy from the American Legion, and he told us, you kids graduating from the school now, in a few years may be called upon to defend your country. This was in 1939, May when we graduated. So we all knew that there was going to be a war. We all knew we were going to be in it. So we'd be playing ball, and here we were, 14, 15-year-old kids discussing, what are you going to do when you go into service? He would take the Army, Navy, or Marines. We'd talk about that. We knew we were going in, you know.
Right.
And we knew we were going in. So along came Pearl Harbor and everything else, you know. So at that time I was in church. I went to church and just got out of church at about 12:30 at the St. John's Clubhouse. And that's how I found out about Pearl Harbor. A guy came running in and said Pearl Harbor was bound. Well, then everybody's the patriotic. We'll slaughter them little yellow bastards. They won't last a week, you know. So everybody was signing up from our church alone, parish alone. There's about 600-700 guys signed up during the war. 26 were killed from our parish. Fortunately, I couldn't go in because I wasn't old enough. I wasn't old. At that time, I was only 16 years old. So I had to wait. So I was always chaffing at the bit to go in. Everybody else was going in, you know. So it got my turn to go in. So I went in early. I signed my dad's name. I wasn't supposed to. My dad got mad about it, but Sister Bridget said, oh, he's already decided we'll take him later on sooner. He'll go anyway. So I went. We first went to Fort Leavenworth induction. You take your blood test and everything else. You'd go first day in. You'd be marked up the street, still in civilian clothes, going past these barracks, and these guys sticking their head out the window, hollering, "You'll be sorry." And they only came in the day before us, you know what I mean? They'd been in the Army one day. They weren't even sworn in yet, just like us, you know.
Hey, was it on the way to boot camp that you guys got on that train?
Yeah, this came later on.
Okay.
We were still at Fort Leavenworth. There was Bob Kerr, Daniel Peresic. We all went together. We lived right down on the hill, block from within each other. Unfortunately, we all, so we was up there, we was cutting grass, it was up there about a week. We said, maybe they forgot about us. Shit, they didn't forget about us, so came time to leave, and so there was about 15 of us, not 50, about 10 of us, And the guy says, okay, you guys are leaving. He says, I'm putting this guy in charge of you. The guy
Right.
just like us, you know. He says, you are not to open them orders till you get down to the train station at Fort Leavenworth. So we got down and that's all those guys said, hey, where we going? Come on, open it up. So this guy says, oh boy, we're getting someplace close. We're going to Camp Robinson, Arkansas. And they say, hey, that's not bad. That's close to home. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I said, let me look. I said, hey, wait a minute. This says Camp Roberts, California. We said, look, can't you read? What the hell's the matter with you? You know what I mean? So we waited for the train, and then we took the train to Kansas City. We had a transfer Union Station, Kansas City, Missouri. Then we only had an hour wait, and the guy was like, he said, this is our train that we can't get on. So he goes on, gets on this train, 10 of us, you know what I mean? This guy's going to be leading us. And we get on this train, and it's so crowded, there's no place to even sit down. I said, we can't go to California standing up. You know, I said, we looked at that, I told the guy, hey, we are in a coach. This thing calls for a Pullman where you sleep.
Right.
You know, and we looked at, so the conductor come by, and this is about 3 or 4 hours later. We were way out in Kansas someplace. So the conductor come by and said, Thursday, conductor, something wrong. They called for a Pullman, and we're on a coach. He looked at us, he said, you boys are on the wrong train. He says, you left at 12 o'clock. Your train didn't leave Kansas City till 4. We could have gone home. We was ready to kill that guy about that time. But he said, I'll leave you off at the next town, and Radiohead, they'll pick you up at the next town. So some little whistle stopped way the hell out in Kansas. All they had was a depot, a couple of houses. Those guys are waiting for the train, sitting on the darn thing. You had a couple of fools waiting for a train. We had to wait about 4 hours for a train to come by. Then the Puma train come by, and the guy come out and said, this is okay, boys, this is your train. So we got on the train, and we got to the Pullman, and there was 6 Marines. They were going to California too. They got the right train in Kansas City. Mm-hmm. They were going to California too. So all together, there was about 15, 16 of us, had the whole Pullman. Those guys were, oh man, this is great. We were walking around in our shorts and everything else, closed the doors. People were trying to get in because we locked the doors. Get out of here. Get out of here, you 4Fs. You know, 4Fs is guys that couldn't pass the health thing. Get out of here, lousy 4Fs.
And you guys were just climbing in and out of the windows, right?
Yeah, as we were going cross country, come to a little town, and sometimes we'd write a letter, we'd lean out and put a stamp on it, we'd lean out the window, stop we'd lean out to talk to people. Say, how about me with this letter? Sure, soldier. We'd come up to talk to. Sometimes the guys would jump out the window and run to the nearest beer joint or something, get some beers, and then we'd pull them back up to the window again. You know, we didn't use the door. We were jumping out the window, you know.
And how long was the train ride?
It went clear to Los Angeles. Took us to Los Angeles. We was on there. Hell, it was going here. It took us about 3 or 4 days to get out there. We went clear to hell. We went clear to hell down to El Paso, Texas first. Zigzag all around the country. Finally got it, and so we was going past this lake. I said, "What the hell's all that water out there?" And was talking to the conductor. What's that? He said, the Salton Sea. You've heard of Salton Sea, haven't you?
Right, right.
I didn't know that. So, well, the damn thing couldn't see the ends of it. Well, anyway, at that time, we were jumping in and out of the cars, and getting sandwiches, getting beer, playing cards and everything else, you know, sitting around, bulling around. So we come to Southern California, and we were going through these orange groves. People were picking it. They'd come up to give us a bunch of oranges and everything else, you know what I mean? Say, hey, buddy, how about some of them oranges? Sure, soldier. Come over and give us a whole bucket full of them, you know what I mean? Because we were service guys. They took care of service guys. So we got to California, Los Angeles, and we was wandering around the town waiting for a train. And then this some woman, USO, come by and says, picking up soldiers, to give them something to do. He said, "You guys want to go to a show tonight? We got some tickets. They're hard to get." I says, "Yeah." I said, "What will we go see?" He said, "They're going to have Frank Sinatra there." Frank Sinatra. He was
That's
just
it.
coming. Yeah. Oh, Ted, you couldn't even get in. You know what I mean? We got the ticket. Was way down in front. You know what I mean? Right there. All those guys are in front. You know. So we had to spend the night. We saw the show. We had to spend the night in Los Angeles. They had some kind of a place there for service guys to sleep over. The next day we didn't have nothing to do. So there's Bob Kerr. They have all those guys. About 6 of us. We still in Los Angeles. We wanted to go to the beach, so we wanted to go to Santa Monica to go to the beach. Had a catch it about 10, 12 miles away. So we caught that about like a bus. You call it, you know what I mean? Took you there. Then you had to rent a suit. And Bob Kerr rented a suit. It had a big hole in the back of my life. I said, "Hey Kerr, man, you got a hole the size of a quarter back there, you know." "Yeah, what the hell? So what? You know what I mean?" He said, "So it's not French." So we went swimming in the Pacific Ocean, you know, the Santa Monica Beach. Then we went back and caught our train and came to Camp Roberts, California, which was about 200 miles north of Los Angeles. So we gone to Camp Roberts. They come out and pick us up, you know, and everything else. And then, so we go to camp, and we get this. And Bob Kerr and I got in the same battalion, but Peresic was sent to a battalion down the road. He went down to the 77th training battalion, and Bob Kerr and I was in the 79th. So right away, next day new guys come in. All those guys were, hell, there was nobody 19 years old even there. You know what I mean? And this guy had a little thing stood up on there, and he was a major. He had a little bitty, what they call them, walking sticks, you know, these swagger sticks.
Oh yeah.
He was pounding us and says, "You boys will have to learn everything here, because if you don't, you will not last. Even if you learn, you probably will not last." He said, the Camp Roberts was a training center. It was a infantry, their training center. It was for casualty replacements. You go over, replace the guys that were killed or wounded. And we got good training out there. It took about 12 weeks. We learned machine guns, mortars. We learned everything. You know, how to string barbed wire, how to do this, how to do that, you know. And it was day and night we trained. They like to kill us, you know. So at the end of the training, then you was out in bivouac, 2-week bivouac. You had to live off the land. They like to starve out there.
Was it during your training that you were doing bayonet practice and you caught that guy's thumbnail in your gun?
Yeah, that was Houston. He was volunteering for everything. You know, those guys are in the group sitting around, and the sergeant says, "All right, we got bayonet practice today. 2 guys attack 1 guy." So this guy by the name of Simpson and Joe, I forgot Joe Hauser. Well, Houston says, "We need 1 more." He said, "I'll volunteer." He jumps up, you know what I mean? He says, "Okay, Simpson and Joe, you're going to attack Houston. Houston, you defend yourself." So, but they had the scabbards on, you know what I mean?
Right.
So those guys were cheering. "Come on, Joe. Come on, Simpson. Get him, stab him, stab him." They were going at each other, slugging at each other. So, I said, and then Mac Houston stopped. "Oh, wait a minute. He got his finger caught in that 1 rifle stocking swivel and tore his whole fingernail off." What was going on? He said, "I think he tore my fingernail off."
People were like screaming, "Medic over here!"
Yeah, he's mad. He had volunteered for every damn thing. He was from Tennessee. I always thought he was from Texas because the name Mac Houston. I thought he was from Tennessee.
And then there was another time when they had you. They wanted to show how you should treat a prisoner of war, and they chose.
Oh yeah, we did most of that stuff was out there on a training field. It's all asphalt. The damn thing was about 1.5 miles long and 1.5 miles wide. It was a big, all asphalt and hotter than hell. The guys would be sitting in groups. They said, "Now we will teach you how to show prisoners of war." we need some volunteers here. Bob Kerr and I were sitting there. She says, you, Kraly, you, Kerr, come up here. It's okay, he says, all right. Kerr, you be the prisoner. Kraly, you're guarding the prisoner. How would you handle him? I come up to him, I says, what do you mean? You got to get him someplace. I said, kind of pushed me, said, move along, you know what I mean? He said, move along. And the sergeant comes up and said, no, hell no, you don't do it that way. He got me, give me your rifle. I still had my scabbard rifle. He grabbed that thing and he said, get moving! He like to knock her down with the damn thing.
Wasn't he having you?
Then he kept saying, you gotta get rough to him and everything else. He threw the rifle. Now give him the band. I told him, get moving. He says, kick him in the ass. And then I kicked him, you know. He said, kick him again, get him to moving, you know. My buddy, I was stabbing and kicking him, you know. So after that, after it was all over, Kerr said, son of a bitch, you kicked me in the ass. I said, sure, what the hell? He told me he says, I kick you again and again, you know. I said, if I had to kick you to come over and kick me, you know. But Bob was a good guy. He was a hell of a nice, tougher than hell. Oh, he was tough, you know what I mean. So after that, we came home together.
Oh.
Yeah, Perestic, Bob and I, we came home to get on furlough, 2-week furlough, come back, or we go overseas. You know, get back over, and we go overseas and everything else, you know. So we spent 2 weeks here, drinking beer and everything else, and we went out one time, Pulaski Hall. Bucks got drunk and we couldn't find him. Well, he'd roll underneath the car that was parked, but we saw some feet sticking out. We had to pull him out. So he was a hell of a gambler. So we went up to Fort Ord, California then, for advanced training. Day and night, they gave you all the ammunition you could shoot. They wanted you to fire, keep firing, keep firing. All the ammunition. The damn sergeant would be right behind me, Lieutenant. Keep firing on the advancing on the line, skirmish line. Keep firing, soldier. Keep firing. He took all the ammunition you could carry. You took bandoliers. So there was one sergeant up there. Boy, he was mean to us. Oh, everybody hated his guts. You know what I mean? So he'd come every night, check the barracks. You know, he's a big guy. So Bob Kerr says, you had it in your part of your equipment. You had your tent rope, and you had to roll up a little wire. So we got another tent rope someplace, and Bob stretched it. Every night, the guy would come in, he'd check the thing, then it'd turn out the light. They had a switch that you threw down, then he'd walk out the barracks. The barracks would be dark. They'd go out the other end. So Bob put the rope just about this high off the what's called against the door on the other side, you know. So he comes in, checks and looks at it, and then pulls the light like he usually does. You know, we knew where he was going. And he goes down there and hits the other door. He hit that rope. He fell through the screen. The door was hot, so the door was the screen door. He was running through the screen door, fell down, and there was about 4 or 5 steps. Fell down steps to some garbage can. He fell in a garbage can. We were that. Oh, Jesus Christ Almighty! You know what I mean? About 3 months later, he come running back in, lights went on. He said, who the hell put that rope there? Oh, I don't know, Sergeant. He said, I want everybody to show me their tent rope. Well, we didn't use our own tent rope. Here's mine, you know what I mean? Everybody has a tent rope, you know what I mean? He says, I'll get the smart son that did this, you know what I mean? So, he wouldn't, no, he never did find out who did it. And Bob wanted to beat the hell out of him. I said, you wind up in the car. He said, I'm going to beat that somebody's ass before. Get out of here. So we told them, you just get in trouble. So they worked the hell out of us, that Fort Rock. Oh, gee, man, it was terrible. And then on top of that, we had this lieutenant that wasn't worth a shit. He said, don't any of you people go hit the stick line. You're going overseas. I don't want anybody to try to dog it out. He said, you don't go to the stick line unless you're half dead. You know, right. Sick call.
Right.
Oh, he was a mean son. And we had these old rifles. We'd have rifle inspection. I don't like the way these rifles, take them back and bring them back, and I want them that their barrels shining, you know. And they were old rifles. We couldn't get them damn things.
Right.
So we had a big sink there. We used to clean the rifles out. So I had this 30-06. I got this big wire brush for 45 caliber. You know what I mean? I'm gonna clean this damn. So I was running this damn thing back and forth. Man, look at mine! I said, those guys, look at Kraly's barrel. How'd you do? I used this thing here. He said, give me that! Everybody was just the bullet probably just dropped out of there. It had those pits in it, you know.
Right.
But this big brush, but it was
so
copper brush got it out, you know. So, this I couldn't believe it. That's more like it, you know what I mean? So from there, we went to. They put us on out of San Francisco Bay called Angel Island for a week. Hell, we were right across the street from Alcatraz. You could see the prisoners walking around.
Oh yeah,
it's about a quarter of a mile away. Yeah. It was very mountainous. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Jesus Christ! And then the mess hall was down the bottom of a hill. To get to the mess hall, felt like you were running down the hill, you know what I mean? Then to get out of there, it seemed like you're climbing up a mountain, you know what I mean? It was like this, and the damn mess hall was at the bottom, you know? So, from there we went back on. We got on a ship, Dutch ship called the New Amsterdam. It's a big ship, 47,000 tons. You know, I remember we got on there about 1 o'clock in the morning. It had a big sign of, under these portals, past the best damn soldiers in the world. We were looking at carrying all our equipment and everything else. Chris said, what a bunch of shit, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we went on this, got on this ship, and we was on there one day, didn't even leave it. I think it was rock on the boat. Those guys got seasick. We was at the rail. These guys, look out! These people walking, all this crap come flying down. Those guys, we were still tied up when we were seasick. So we finally gone out under Golden Gate, left, you know what I mean? Green like hell. Bob Kerr and Perez was going on, he said, I wonder how this is going to come back, you know. So we didn't know where the hell we were going to. They didn't tell you nothing, you know. So we go to the Solomon Islands, Guadalcanal, you know. So we said, went there, they had what they call a replacement depot there. And then from the fighting up in the Solomon Islands, you'd go to the outfits that needed casualties, and you'd replace them with killed and wounded, you know. So we waited there a couple of days, you know. So we got split up there. Bob went to the 161st. Him and went to the 161st Infantry, still in the 25th Division, and I went to G Company, 25th Infantry Division, you know. So there was 10 of us went to the G Company, and the guy comes up smoking a cigar, some sergeant. He had 3 stripes. He was a big tech sergeant. His name was Tidwell. He got killed later on Luzon. Looking, boy, Jesus Christ, he scared the shit out of us just by looking. He said, all right, you guys are sending the G Company. He says, get in that truck. I'll take you to G Company. We go down to G Company and everything else, you know. So he says, shines us to us out to platoons and everything else, you know, where we're going. Then we had to be interviewed by the captain, Ramsey. So he lined us all up. He was talking to us. He says, okay, you guys, he says, now, so you're all soldiers now. And he was asking this guy, how old are you? 18. He says, none of you guys can even vote? I'll never forget. I said, no, sir. And he was from West Point, this Ramsey. He was smart. And he was the first thing you got to learn to do, the only good Jap is a dead Jap. He said, don't trust them or anything else because it might mean your life. He says, you're not in basic training. You're not going to always see anything to shoot off. If you think something's there, fire. He said, do not hesitate. He says, when you assault, make your first assault good. Because if you don't, we're going to have to go back a second time with fewer men. And he said, also, I want to tell you, we're not all coming back. I go, oh, Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? I said, you know, guys, we were shaking by that time. So that's all. He went back in the tent, and they had a bulletin board outside the tent, you know, a big bulletin. And one guy said, hey, you guys, look at this. You know what other sign on? This was 1943. Mm-hmm. It says, Golden Gate in 48, Bread Line 49. That's what you said. What's happening right now? You know. So we was talking to the rest of the guys in the company. Gee, they were good guys as leaders. The morale was the worst morale ever. Everybody wanted to go, who the hell wants to fight this goddamn war anyway? You know what I mean? I said, what the hell? I thought they'd be, let me at them. None of that shit. They've been through it already, you know. So, that's I got the class. I went to 3rd Platoon, 2nd Squad, G Company. So Claude Witter and Papa Casas was boy, we had leadership. Oh, it was incredible. I wouldn't even believe guys like that even existed. So the very next day, 2 days later, Claude Witter comes and says, well, you guys, we're going to, Japs took this position up there, we're going to wipe out what's on the other side of the river. He said, I don't know any of you guys, but watch me for hand signals, keep low, take advantage of all cover, and fire. He said, well, I want grazing fire, I want it a little off, about 16, 18 inches off the ground, you know what I mean? Off the ground. So we went on, this guy's, oh, Jesus Christ. Then we went on the other side of the river. One of our outposts had been wiped out over there. So 7 guys. So we went to wipe out with the Japs that were over there. And we started out and waiting for everybody to synchronize their watches. I didn't have a watch, but the leaders did. Everybody attacked at 8 o'clock. Then guys on the other side of the river, they did the same thing at 8. You know, everybody pushed off at the same time. Everybody pushed off at the same time. And there we were, advancing on the school with fixed bayonets, you know what I mean? Of course, you never know when them goddamn Japs that come out, were running out with them samurais, you know, swinging the damn thing, you know. So we didn't go no 50 feet to the next clump of bamboo. I saw them feet sticking out. The clump of bamboo was here. I was on the left side, and I saw their feet wrap feet. Amongst the other guys, always a circle around the other side, you guys. He said, be careful. So we circled around. There was a bunch of dead Japs. We didn't even know they were there. We were doing a fire. We were hitting them, didn't even know it. You know what I mean?
Right.
If we hadn't got them, next charge, they'd have been right on top of it. They're only 50 feet in front of us. So I thought there was about 5 or 6, and 4 or 5 of them. There was 7 of them piled up on top. I said, there's 7 of them, sir, Clover. He said, make sure they got a hole in them. Hole in them. They were shot to pieces, you know what I mean? My God! You know,
right.
You didn't have one, the top of their head was gone, and oh man. First dead ones I ever seen. So I was ready to quit right there, you know. So we continued on pushing, you know, and clearing up the place, firing. Hell, I used up all my grenades, 6 of them, throwing in little those ravines and all that crap. You had to be very careful, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. One guy covered the other guy all the time, you know. So we started getting more fire, was firing back. All of a sudden, we saw a bunch of them running. There was a clearing, they ran in this damn house. Mm-hmm. It's on post about 4 foot above the ground.
Okay.
4 foot above the ground. And they ran in here. All of a sudden, a little white flag comes sticking out. There's a flag. It was this way. The door was on the other side. They managed to get a little white flag. Those guys were in a ditch about, I guess about 30 yards from against this opening. And Papka says, well, set it on fire, we'll kill them from here, you know what I mean? So Clovis said, no, he says, they said try to get prisoners. We got to get some prisoners, you know. And we still didn't know what the hell was in there. So Clovis says, Kraly, you take that north side, Padula, you take it from the south side, and tear him with your bayonet, cover him, then I'll come up. So that's what we did. I ran as fast as I could. One of them got on the floor with my bayonet, twisted, and there was 4 of them in there. 3 of them were wounded. They was laying on the other side. They was laying on a mat, laying on the floor, and one was standing up. He was in the corner up here, and he was that officer. He had something on his shoulder. I knew he was an officer. So I said, "Hey," I said, "Padula, cover the ones on the floor. I got this one up in the corner, you know." And I called out, "Hey, Clawwitter, we got them covered." So Clawwitter comes down, and he was a big guy. He's about 6'4" inches tall. Good-looking guy, blonde-headed guy. He comes in there. He says, and he speak English. Then he brings them. Then we bring them out. You know, cut them out. I'm on one side, and this damn one officer, the others had their hands up. He wouldn't get his hands up. He was just down. I said, "Up!" I said, "They went up." His hands flew up. You know what I mean? So I was on the other side. Pep guy says, "Kraly, get your ass on the other side of here. I'm gonna kill every one of them." Clawwitter said, "No, we can't kill prisoners." There was arguing back and forth, you know what I mean? And so finally Pegnato, who's another rifleman in the squad, said, "If Pappy fires, we all fire." You know what I mean? So there was an arguing back and forth between Clawwitter and Papakostas. So Papakostas was a big guy. He was a smart guy. He played football for University of Illinois. He went to officer school, but he drank so much they kicked him out. What's called that? Well, anyway, our officer was still on the other side. The platoon lieutenant was on the other side. You know what I mean? Drake was on the other side. So Clawwitter says, "Kraly, call Drake over here." So Drake's still on the other side. And then he had to jump in that river, the Pale River, to come to us. We crossed that river. There's a little river at the fort. But where he jumped in, the damn thing was about 6 foot. Yeah, she had all this. I had a bamboo stick I had, and I pulled him in shore. He was drenching wet. So he came up to it, the prisoners, you know what I mean? He said, "No," he said, "we can't kill prisoners." He said, "That's out," you know what I mean? And everybody liked liked him. Oh, he was a great guy. That's hell of an athlete, boy. He was a leader, you know. Martin Joshua Drake, you know what I mean? It's a Mangum, Oklahoma. So we completed that day and everything else, and then this after the thing was over there, the captain come up to me and says, "Great, this guy's done a good job." He says, "I heard you almost bayoneted him. He was a major. I didn't know he was a major." I says, "Well, sir, he wouldn't get his hands up." He says, "That's with you hunkies, that's just about right." He knew I was crazy.
Right.
Yeah. So he just laughed about it. I walked away, you know. So we was in a good outfit, you know, and everything else. And then we went to this Vela La Vela. So this Sergeant Adele, he was a sergeant of third squad, 3rd platoon, telling me about one of our PT boats that got run down. We used to call them Pete's. They would go out and get those barges that night. And guess who that was? Kennedy.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. At that time, little did I know it was Jerry Dell told me, he said, "Hey, Kraly, you know one of our Pete's got cut in half by a Jap destroyer." We thought he was run down. We didn't know what the hell happened. See, those Japs that supplied her by night by barges, and these PT boats would go out there and get them, you know what I mean? So little did I know that was Kennedy. You know what I mean? I dismissed it.
Right, right, right.
Till later on I found out about PT 109, and Jesus Christ, you know, and it comes to me, you know. And we were just right there. What happened? See, what happened was New Georgia was here, and there's out of Colagara, there was 15,000 Japs on there. They wanted to bypass them, go around. We took Vela to the other side. We crossed them, cut them off. You get what I mean? And then right here, there was a place called Ferguson's Passage. That's where his PT boat got sunk. You know what I mean? And the damn thing, things were so dark at night you couldn't see nothing. Not only that, those Japs had binoculars, they could practically see at night. You know what I mean?
Right.
And not only that, the PT boat was low on the water. Japs were up in a crow's nest. They could see further. You know what I mean? And those nights out there were black. You know, just about 5 o'clock at night, it starts to get dark in those jungles. It's like somebody turned the switch. You'd always know it'd get dark, you know how? These nighthawks used to call up. There's big birds about this wide across, and they had a bullseye on each one wing. And those things that come flying real low through the trees. Ha 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 ha! They made that kind of a noise, you know what I mean? You knew it was going to get dark when they started coming out. Boys, just that ripcord.
Hey, at nighttime when you were dug into your trenches, if you knew you were going to be there, you spruced them up a little bit, didn't you?
Oh yeah, we made them more comfortable and everything else. Well, what made me laugh was when before we went to Luzon, those guys were practicing on New Caledonia how to change positions at night. You know what I mean? So we'd build a line up, you know, dug in, and then guys come up, they would switch positions dead of night. You know what I mean? Guys would come up to us and say, where the hell are you guys? Make a noise. One guy even had his that's a cigarette lighter. One thing they had a flight. The officer said, who the hell's put those lights on out there? You know, we're supposed to find them in the door. So, this is the craziest damn thing I ever see, you know what I mean? We were laughing about it. The guys were lighting match. See where the hell they're at, you know what I mean? So, yeah, we spruced them up. We used to spruce them up. There was no such thing as a foxhole. There was a slit trench. The length of your body, and then how deep you wanted to go. Sometimes it was hard to ground, you know what I mean? If it was soft, you went deeper, you know what I mean? I think I always had the deepest one. That might be still think that, hey, look at Kraly, he's going to China. I'll just pull that dirt out, you know? And yeah, we used to get those big banana leaves, and damn banana leaves, which hell, they were about 8 foot long or better, you know what I mean? And about this wide. We used to line them up on the bottom, because bottom holes sometimes be wet, you know what I mean? And line them up and just stack up here. Every night was a ritual. I fixed my bayonet, then I had a little knife, I got that ready. Then I got my entrenching shirt, I straightened it out and locked it so the blade was up, so I could swing it and it's like to fight with, you know, it's a thing to fight with. Because they'd come in close, you know.
I think you said that like at night, if you heard something, you'd be like, hey, I heard something, they'd be like, throw a grenade at it.
That's what he said. Throw a grenade. This kid says, I think I heard it. No, he told us that. You guys, throw a grenade.
Hey, didn't you guys used to play a joke by like pulling like the detonation cord out of a grenade and throwing it in a tent?
Yeah, but at night, see, this here one Jap got in front of us, and he's screaming, and GI, we'll kill you in the morning, you know. I asked this guy, what the hell's that guy? He said, sound like G.I.J. He's going to kill us in the morning, you know what I mean? You know, and the next morning we advanced, and Grablowski and Adele killed the 4 Japs behind the machine. One was a Japanese lieutenant, and 3 others. And I was always wondering if that was one of them that was hollering at us, you know what I mean? But yeah, they talk about that the guys would be playing cards. The card game we used to play was hearts. It was hearts. And so guys be playing there, put a blanket down, you know, playing cards. All of a sudden, grenades come flying up. And while the damn thing was still sputtering, it still had the detonator in it, but they took the powder out.
Oh, okay.
You know?
So it'd be smoking.
Yeah. And then when they go off, it go pip, pip, you know, the detonator going would sit off the powder, you know what I mean? It'd go pip.
That reminds me, weren't you in training somewhere when they were throwing like they were shooting live fire at you or something like that, and Papa Costa said, "Oh, that was pretty close. Give me a stick."
Oh no, those were quarter-pound blocks of TNT that we had to simulate noises.
Right.
So we was on New Caledonia then at training, you know, just before we went to Luzon, and we were simulating with these other guys, and they had some quarter-pound blocks of TNT. You know, they were setting them off. They were coming close to us, and Papa said, "Hey, you son of a bitches, that's pretty close." I had those blocks of TNT. He said, "Kraly, give me those things." He's little one. Those guys, "Hey, what the hell you guys doing over there?" He swooped back at him. Papa Costas. Oh, he was something else. He was, like we was on patrol, you know, back like we was on patrol again. So against the 106th Prisoners, Simpson, Papa Costas, and me was patrolling on patrol. All of a sudden, there's about 20 guys jump out from between trees. All right, you guys, we got you covered. You are prisoners. And there were 3 of us, about 20 of them. Pat Picasso says, hey, wait a minute. You got that all wrong. He said, you are prisoners. The guy says, hey, there's 20 of us, and with 3 of you, we got superior firepower. We got you're a prisoner. And Bob said, no, you got that wrong. You are prisoners, you know what I mean? So they would argue back and forth. Pat Picasso, when he said, how would you like to get punched in the mouth? You know? He said, how would you like to get punched in the mouth? Pretty soon the chief come along with some officers and observers and umpires, and said, what's the problem here? He said, well, sir, we caught these 3 guys here, and they are prisoners, and the sergeant here thinks we're his prisoners. The guy said, well, it's very obvious. There's 20 of you, and 3 of them, you got superior fighters here, they're prisoners. So reluctantly gave our weapons, you know, they took us out, like we were prisoner interrogators, and they take us out, and so this guy from the other 106th First said, that's information, we just gave our name, rank, and serial number. Private First Class John Kraly, 375-29-331, that was it, you know what I mean? So, we know who you guys are. And who come walking in up to the group there? But Bob Kerr! And it's Bob Kerr. Guy come walking. He was in 161st. He had to see me for about a month, you know, he can walk up. He says, oh, I know who that is. That's Kraly. He's in Jeep Company. Pat Picasso, do you have to know everybody? He says, Bob Kerr going to find me. He said, do you have to know everybody? I said, I went in the army with him, you know. I said, you have to know everybody. So, no, it was comical. It was really comical. So, it was under, the whole Solomon's campaign was under the command of Admiral Halsey. So we were going to have a big parade for him. We was going to Luzon and leaving his command. We was going under the command of General MacArthur. General MacArthur. So we had this big parade. We were waiting all day for him. It rained on us then. We was on this airfield. They had what they call these mats and mats put together. This guy sitting on their helmets, threw his cousin that lousy son of a bitch, cousin Bull Halsey. Pretty soon his plane comes in, you know, C-40, and land. Then he goes up to the reviewing stand, you know what I mean? So Bland's plan and everything. Now, the 15,000 guys marched in front. Then we assemble in front of him in battalion squares, you know. And he's talking, we will go on to more glory and everything else. So he says, what can I do for you boys? So we had loudspeakers. One guy hollered, we want to go home. Gee, everybody heard it. Oh,
everybody started laughing.
Halsey knew what it was all about.
Right.
Shit, you know, he knew what the hell it was all about. The rest of it is. So, the funny thing about it happened on New Caledonia, there was this one guy by Joe Gals, I was telling about, fooling around with this French gal, she was married, and her husband found out about it, come down to the camp, and Joe Giles shot him and killed him, and they tried to find out who it was. We all knew who did it. Anybody know anything about this? Nobody knew, you know what I mean? And Ed the fielder captain said, well, I expected that. So they found out who it was, you know what I mean? You know, he claimed self-defense, they gave him 6 to 20 years. And that was like, we left him on for New Caledonia, went to make the invasion of Luzon. So, we was down at Resolve. This was about February 17th, just about a week before I got hit. We had a lot of casualties. See, I see this guy coming down carrying his crap. And I told Adele, I said, hey, that looks like Joe Giles. He said, oh, he got 6 to 20, remember? He come there, was him. I said, hey, Giles, 60, what the hell? He said, it's all bullshit. They tore down the whole damn stockade and put us back in the lines again, you know. You know, I'm glad to be back anyway.
And he killed like 2 Frenchmen, right?
Yeah. He was full. There was a bakery there, and he was fooling around with his wife. He was having an affair with his wife. But we landed on Luzon. We didn't know where the hell we were going to. We didn't know where we were going to, you know. So we were going to till about 2 days before they handed out things where we were going to. We passed this there damn island of Mindoro. That was our first plane attack we had. Oh, damn. Grablowski and I were on top deck, and we got caught. They battened down our heads. We couldn't get below. We called underneath the 40 millimeter gun, you know, twin mount. And he's playing with these guns were boom, 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 boom. His shells were boom, boom, falling down on top. We was underneath, you know what I mean? Fortunately, they didn't hit none of us. They passed by, you know. They shot one of them down, and we saw it splash in the ocean. And so we go. Then we found out it was going to Luzon. You know, so close to 250,000 Japs there. And so we made the line Ligan Gulf at San Fabian. And it was so damn foggy, you couldn't see the hand in front of your face. This guy's crawling on the cargo nets. We didn't even know it was ashore till the barge stops, LCVP, landing craft vehicle. And he says, drop the rocks. So we dropped it, jumped in the water. I was one of the first in Papacasas that jumped in. Hell, we couldn't even see. We're going to have to wait. Go and push as far as we can. Wait for this fog to lift. Then they said, we're in the wrong place when the fog lifts. Lieutenant was looking back. We had to go down about a mile down the beach. We were trading places, you know, before we pushed into San Fabian, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so all the Filipinos were out there cheering us and everything else. So we goes down to there, and at first I was dug in on this river, and it's one goddamn guy by the name of Thorgerson had a nightmare. Screamed right next to me, you know what I mean? Ah, blood curdling screams. This guy, don't fire. He says, Thorgerson had a nightmare, you know. So he was advancing on these here towns, you know. So each town we ran into the Japanese 2nd Armored Division. They didn't tell us that they were out there, you know what I mean? So it was a battle. We was on the left flank, and guard the left flank. The rest were pushing their way down to Manila. So we got fighting in those towns. Each town had about 20, 30, 40 tanks in it before we could get in there, you know. So we crossed the Agno River and took Santa Maria, and there was 7 Jap tanks in it. And the guy says, we heard this noise. I was in this here park, you know, middle of the town, and they had like a pavilion there, and I heard this noise. These Filipinos had found an American flag stuck on the end of a bamboo pole, playing. They had about 3 or 4 brass pieces playing the Star Spangled Banner. Then they informed us the Japs took off. They were heading south, left Santa Maria, and we're heading south towards Lapeo and Yuga. They were fighting for San Manuel. That's when I found out that Bob Kerr got killed on January 28th. The last big banzai, they rushed Bob's position and everything else, and he was killed. And Bucks was killed later on. His position was overrun too. Both of them were killed. The officers bought us a little can of beer. This was in February. I didn't know anything about it, him being killed. We had this Lapeo was a meat grinder. 6 days of hell, from February 2nd to 8th, you know what I mean? Each game was measured in yards, we'd dig in the hole, you know what I mean? So the officers got us the beer. We got 2 little cans of beer, and I was sitting on the end of drinking beer. And these guys come by from 161st. They saw me. They knew me right away. You know what I mean? Because I went overseas with a lot of them. Said, "Hey, Kraly, how you doing? Glad to see you alive, man. You know, we'll talk about it." He says, "You know," he says, "they got you. We lost your buddy January 20th." I said, "Who was that?" He says, "Bob Kerr." Bob was a jovial guy. Everybody knew him. You know what I mean? He liked to gabble, jovial stuff. Made it. You know what I mean? He was one of them guys that you didn't notice. You know.
Right.
So we went to Swartbolt. Then we pushed on past with Lapeo, and we went down this town called Rizal. So took all that left flank, and then that was all rice paddies. Then we had to go up to the car, Balawan, and start fighting for Belidi Pass. Oh, yeah. But down at Rizal, we were getting them by the dozens, and we didn't lose a man. We'd go out at night. They were trying to make it to the mountains. We let them get within about 50 feet of us, then open up, you know, and the next day, go out there and count their bodies.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I was telling you about. It's off this bridge, little bitty bridge. A couple of them fell off the bottom thing. I was searching on top of the bridge, and Grablowski went below. He says, "I'm going to search those bodies below." And from below, he says, "Boy, that guy sure thought he was good looking." I said, "How's that?" He said, "Look at all these little